You are tuned in to the Grand Rising Experience, a journey into self-acceptance and forgiveness through the ancestral, birth, and earth stories that will forever transform your mess into your medicine. This is how we learn to heal and how we learn to be love. This is the Grand Rising Experience. The earth stories that we are currently acting out day in and day out, that are being made manifest through our ancestral and our birth stories, are what is contributing to this collective reckoning that we're all going through right now. And while many of us have been scrambling, especially over the past 2 years, to try and pinpoint and find the external source of the issue so that we can get ahead of it or beat it or deconstruct it. It's these stories, these external stories and these narratives that we buy into that are writing our rule books and our playbooks. When we become more invested in those stories than the ancestral birth and earth stories that run through us. And when I say ancestral birth and earth, I'm talking about the lineage that you come from, the epigenetics, the RNA, the personalities, the emotions, the traits that get passed down through our bloodlines. How you're born, what's happening in utero during conception, how you come into this world, the methods in which you enter, and then your earth stories, what plays out in the matrix, how you show up in this world based on your ancestral and your birth stories. They're all interconnected. And we are so distracted and so enamored by every other story that's currently acting out in front of us that we fail to get really curious and learn about our own. But at the end of the day, the only story that matters is your own, because your story is a page in the collective book. We are all constantly writing and rewriting what's happening right now through how we choose to show up every day and the awareness in which we do. What would happen if everyone for one day just said, nah, I'm not going to pay attention to anything that's happening, and I'm going to get really clear on who I am, and I'm going to get really curious about what makes me tick and why and where I come from and how that's shaped me? What would change? How radically would this world change if we became more invested in our own story than anyone else's? I think the entire world would change. Because the only change that is ever possible is the one that happens on the inside. There is no external force that is responsible for the creation of your life. There is no external situation, person, event that is determining your reality. Your reality is determined by the perception that you hold of the events that are happening. And if you are feeling like you're being hard done by, or that you're being victimized, or that you are being held hostage by a situation, while failing to look at your role in that situation and why it appeared for you in the first place, and the words and the thoughts and the beliefs and the actions that you took that led up to the creation of that event, failing to take responsibility and accountability and acknowledging and accepting that you had a role in what has been made manifest in front of you. If you're not able to take accountability for that, nothing's ever going to change. Like ever, 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 ever. And that's been my hard truth over the past, I'd say 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. I've had an awareness of it. But it's been on my periphery. It's felt like more of an embodied experience over the past 6 months, where when I find myself in conflict and I find myself in hard times or hard situations, I'm losing the ability to point fingers, and I'm really choosing to sit in the silence and the stillness and reflect on why this is showing up for me. Why did this enter my life? What is this here to teach me? What do I need to change or address within myself to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Why does this perhaps keep happening? Is this a pattern that keeps showing up in my life that I need to take a closer look at? What emotions are being stirred when these events appear? Are they familiar? Can I map them back to perhaps an earlier time in my life? Is this a wiring of my nervous system that needs to be addressed in order for anything else to change, so that I can start showing up in these situations and in these spaces in a different energy? It all starts with you. It's always, always, always our job to address any conflict that we're witnessing outside of ourselves, inside of ourselves first. And if you can't do that, that's an even bigger red flag that it's something that you need to really try and learn how to do. And something that I found really helpful, and what really started pulling me down the path of embodied acceptance and forgiveness, because I had been going down this, quote, spiritual road for quite a few years. And then I started finding like this fatigue set in, and I almost went on a spiritual sabbatical for the past few years. Specifically, once the pandemic hit, I really dove into the fear and the victimhood of everything that was happening, and looking at how to fix the problem without really fixing the problem, which was me, and how I was perceiving what was happening, and how I was choosing to stand in my truth. Because while I was finding effective ways to stand in my truth to get what I wanted, there was a complete and utter fallout that was happening in the other side of my life, in terms of relationship and health and wellness and connection to self. That was getting swept away in my need to have this physical protection of my immediate environment. And then I crashed and burned about 6 months ago. And it was through discovering, and it had always been on my periphery, but it was choosing to dive into a practice of the ancient Hawaiian prayer of the Ho'oponopono. That is so simple, it almost feels silly. And it's rooted in the premise that you are always acknowledging your role for what's appearing in your life. And it's through repentance, gratitude, and love and acknowledgement that you take full accountability and responsibility over the situations in your life. And then you move on, because when you know better, you can do better. And the prayer is simple. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And they're simple words, but the power of the vibration and the frequency that they hold is undeniable. And as I started digging into the Ho'oponopono, which is, again, this ancient Hawaiian tradition, it's been around for a very, very long time, there's a story of Dr. Hugh Len, who is probably the most notable modern steward of this prayer. And even for me to get to the point of being able to have a prayer practice took a lot of work on my behalf, because again, as I said, I'd been on a spiritual journey. So I had been rejecting religion for a very long time. And it was really hard for me to separate the idea of God from religion, to the point that I couldn't even use the word God, because religion just felt dirty to me. It didn't feel aligned. It didn't feel authentic. And it felt like a barrier between me and this higher power. So I dove into spirituality. But then lo and behold, spirituality is also the corporatization of God. It's the same thing. It's the other side of the same coin. So I had to spend a lot of time getting right and in right relation with God and what that meant to me, and outside of the doctrines and the dogmas. And I feel like that's what I've really been doing through this journey over the pandemic. And in my fight for my own sovereignty and dominion, it was putting me in right relationship with God. And it brought me to the Bible, the book that everyone seems to have an opinion about, but no one's ever read. And even if you go to church, it more often than not is read to you. It's not something that you are left to interpret on your own. That there's these higher ecclesiastical powers that know how to read and interpret it. But that's not true. And the interesting thing about the Bible is the more you read it, the more you glean from it. And the more you read it, the more you just keep seeing acceptance and forgiveness, acceptance and forgiveness. And that is a thread and a commonality that shows up in pretty much all religious and spiritual text across all denominations. Acceptance and forgiveness. So in going deeper and really trying to understand the story of me through my ancestral birth and earth stories, and understanding who I am and where I came from, it kept bringing me back to the Ho'oponopono, because I think all of us can relate to having chapters of our lives that we'd rather forget, that we'd rather move on from and not acknowledge, the things that we're not proud of, or the pains and the hurts that are just too much to bear, that we just don't want to keep in our realm because it becomes too disruptive. But when you fail to acknowledge your role in your life, the saying of wherever you go, there you are, rings true. And you cannot escape yourself. You can try. You can run, but you can't hide. So getting back to Dr. Hugh Len, he's this really interesting gentleman who grew up in Hawaii, had been taught the Ho'oponopono by, I believe it was his grandmother. And he was a psychiatrist at the Hawaii State Hospital. And in the 1980s, he spent 5 years in the mental health ward dealing with a variety of patients. And every day he would go into work and he would be happy and he would be joyful And he would go into his office and he would pick up the files and he would read the files of the patients. And the most beautiful thing and quality about Dr. Hugh Len is that he understood the basic universal truth that I am you and you are me. And if I see it in you, there's something in me that is resonating with it. If you are appearing in my life, it is because there is something in me that is magnetizing you into my field. And therefore, I have work to do on me. So every day he would go in, he would look at the files, and he would get busy working on himself. He would go into deep reflection, meditation, and prayer, and look inside of himself for the qualities that were showing up in the files in front of him. And over the next 5 years, the patient started to get better, and the ward eventually closed. He never sat face to face with a patient. It seems insane and almost hard to comprehend, but it is the true depiction of be the change you want to see. When you fix it in you, you fix it outside of you. And I have a beautiful 9-part interview that was conducted with Dr. Hugh Len a few years ago. It's inside of the free resource library that I have on grandrising.live. And he goes in depth with his experience. And unfortunately, Dr. Hugh Len passed away in 2020. But he did leave the world the gift of discovering this ancient wisdom found inside of the Ho'oponopono. A process that is so simple, yet so powerful and so transformative. And there's different ways to approach the Ho'oponopono. It can be as simple as saying, please forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. Or there's a deeper practice that you can go in. But what's so beautiful about this practice is it is something that you can tailor to fit you and where you're at. So as I started exploring the Ho'oponopono, I started developing my own prayer practice. And I was looking at the various areas of my life that need work. And I settled on kind of 6 different buckets. And in creating these prayers, I decided to put together a full meditation package to share with people. And the premise of it is to really start to sink into self-love and how to get back to loving ourselves, because love is our natural state of being. And you cannot have love without acceptance and forgiveness, and you cannot accept and forgive without love. So the 6 prayers that I settled on were becoming, which is how you came to be, reconciling how you came to be, acknowledging that you are the creator of your own life, accepting and forgiving what is as it is, and then asking God to cleanse in your life the parts of you that are not resonating with the frequency of love. And that's kind of a common theme throughout all of the prayers. But there's one on becoming, which is who you are, divine image, which is how you feel about your body, connection, so how we are in relationship, guilt and resentment, which is the basis of the fear and shame that we tend to sit inside of in the stories that we start to tell ourselves. There's creative inspiration, so how we end up blocking our blessings through the guilt and resentment and fear and shame that we hold on to. And then peace be with me. So how and in what ways do we prevent peace from flowing into our lives through how we show up? And it's been a very powerful practice. And I wanted to share it with all of you because it has been so transformative for me and really brought me back into right relationship with myself, which ultimately is in right relationship with God. And it does allow me and afford me the ability to not sit and point fingers and blame and shame others for their choices, and instead look inward and go, okay, why is this showing up for me? What is this here to teach me? What can I learn? It's a powerful, powerful exercise. And some of the feedback that I've received from people who have gone through this process is that they never truly understood how they were creating their own reality. But through going through these meditations each day, it started giving them a bit of insight and a glimpse into their shared responsibility in their life. Powerful. It's powerful work. So I just wanted to drop in and share with you why I created this 6 days of self-love prayer challenge. I intentionally called it a prayer challenge because it definitely starts to rub up against the doctrine and the dogma and the belief systems that we as a culture have around God, and the corporatization of God through religion and spirituality. I'm going to leave you with day 1, becoming. I hope you enjoy it. It's about a 7-minute meditation. And if you find peace and solitude within this practice, or you find yourself having questions and wanting more, I'll drop the link to the challenge below. You can join a community of like-minded and like-hearted men and women who are also taking the challenge, where you can share and express the stories that are coming up for you, because I do believe that how we share our story and with who gives us the power and the permission to shift. So with that, I bid you adieu. Have a wonderful day. And until next time, I love you and thank you for being here.
Grand Rising, and welcome to the 6 Days of Self-Love Quantum Prayer Challenge. This is day 1, becoming. You are being invited to observe all of the voices, relationships, ideas, and forces that have shaped your current belief systems. What has created the identity that follows I am? I invite you to now find a comfortable position. This can be seated or lying down. Place your right hand on your heart center and your left hand on your belly. Take a deep breath through your nose, feeling your chest and side body expand and your belly fill with air. Hold for 4 seconds and exhale slowly through your mouth. We're going to repeat this 5 times together. Inhale, hold, and exhale. As we begin, I'm inviting you to give yourself permission to let go. Know that there is nothing you need to do, accomplish, or control at this time. just simply allow yourself to experience these next few moments where you can just feel, be, and observe without judgment or the need to do anything physically or mentally. I am the creator of my reality. I accept of my own free will every experience that is manifested and unfolded throughout my life, without judgment and without exception. I am ready to forgive all voices, relationships, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, and forces not in true alignment with my soul's divinity that have created contracts that do not honor my values and dominion. I am ready to release all emotions without judgment. God, I trust in you, and I ask you to cleanse me and set me free. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I am the creator of my reality. I accept of my own free will every experience that is manifested and unfolded throughout my life, without judgment and without exception. I am ready to forgive all voices, relationships, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, and forces not in true alignment with my soul's divinity that have created contracts that do not honor my values and dominion. I am ready to release all emotions without judgment. God, I trust in you, and I ask you to cleanse me and set me free. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I am the creator of my reality. I accept of my own free will every experience that is manifested and unfolded throughout my life, without judgment and without exception. I am ready to forgive all voices, relationships, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, and forces not in true alignment with my soul's divinity that have created contracts that do not honor my values and dominion. I am ready to release all emotions without judgment. God, I trust in you, and I ask you to cleanse me and set me free. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Take these next few moments for yourself, bringing your awareness back to your breath, your body, and this present moment. Prepare to take one final cleansing breath to close our time together. Inhale through your nose and out through your mouth. Bring your hands together at heart center, keeping the eyes closed. Feel the gratitude for showing up for yourself today, and take a moment to acknowledge the inner peace and stillness you have just cultivated. As we close out today's session, I invite you to work through the reflection questions in your guidebook, exploring what you observed physically, mentally, and emotionally as we worked through today's prayer. Until tomorrow, thank you. I love you.